Welcome to this week's All the Way Down. This is episode number 14. I am Invictus Knox. We are here with...
I'm Dash.
That's Dash. We are talking not specifically this week about any history that we talked about last time, which is super interesting. I'd like to do that more. I want to find some stories that I want to talk about too.
I've got another really good one, but I'll need to do more research first to refresh myself on everything.
Nice. Yeah, so I just came this week prepared to talk about one of two games. The first one I'm probably going to be only talk about this week because I'm sure the game that Dash has in mind we could probably harp on for a little bit longer, even though I've never even played it. Anyway, first, well, actually, you know what? Do you want to talk about the retro game or the new game this week?
Oh, I don't mind. I thought it was a good idea to have you go first.
Okay,
because I talked the whole time last time.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So, I've been playing a game called Knockout City. This is a game that, on its face, you would probably think it's the first thing that comes to mind when you see the logo of the game alone is going to be Jet Grind Radio or Jet Set Radio Future. It's almost like an entire, not plagiarism, but that's immediately what you see. It's like if a new fast food restaurant chain came out and had the giant golden arches, but their name was I don't know, Marins or something.
Right.
But yeah, this is Knockout City, and it's nothing like Jet Set Radio Future in that you are skating the entire time. It seemed like the whole point of that game was to so here's a little bit of a prefix. Damn it, what's the word? Prefix? That's not it.
Preface?
Preface. There we go. Can't remember my words today. I didn't play either of those games yet. Except for about 10 minutes in a Target and a kiosk.
Are you still talking about Jet Set Radio?
I'm talking about Jet Set Radio, yeah.
God, tell us about Knockout City.
Well, I need to tell you about that to tell you how it's not like that at all. So It's like imagine Tony Hawk with music. Well, Tony Hawk definitely has music, right?
Yeah, and there was graffiti and you rollerblade around and it's cell shaded and it's really stylish and it was on Dreamcast.
So now take that and then make it dodgeball. And not really any skating or the music doesn't influence anything I'm pretty sure it does in Jet Set, or at least Jet Grind Radio did. But dodgeball, on its face, pretty simple, but it's actually got three distinct, maybe not three, but there's a couple layers of fucking rock, paper, scissors that you're playing here. And that's exactly why it kind of attracted me, because if you approach this game from a fighting game mindset, you do pretty well, because in fighting,
I need you to take a step back.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is this game?
Knockout City. It is
genre.
Shit. Could you define that? It's definitely a third-person shooter kind of game, but it's dodgeball. But imagine you have a little bit more movement mechanics than a traditional shooter.
And are you fighting against other people, or is it a campaign?
It's definitely multiplayer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got a online, I'm guessing, multiplayer arena shooter.
Yes.
But you are rollerblading around?
Nope, no rollerblades to speak of.
Okay.
Yeah, you're just running around.
But it's third person and you're throwing dodgeballs. Got it. Okay. I needed that super base level. So back to what you were saying.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway,
it happens.
Essentially, you have different kinds of balls that will, have different properties. They're essentially just weapon types. And then there's different ways that you can throw them. You have a lob toss, you have a spin toss, you can throw curveballs. There's a whole pressure system involved that kind of just tells you how fast whatever ball you're using is going to travel to the other intended target once you've locked on. You can choose to lock on, or you can choose to just throw. There's a whole bunch involved in just a simple one-on-one exchange, which, by the way, it has a one-on-one mode. The traditional way to fight is 3v3. It's like a team KO kind of situation. And they got different kinds of maps where you can kind of really just get to the it's an arena shooter almost, basically, except you have a lot more dealings with the environment for cover, because as you can imagine, with a ball you're not going to shoot through most walls in an FPS, but a ball you can curve around. You can actually get enough spin to say, I'm going to hit the person in the most difficult to reach spot in the middle of this wall from the exact opposite side of the wall, and you can do it.
Hmm.
You can do it by
With like
going.
ricochets and curves and stuff.
I don't think. I think making adding ricochets to that game would make it pretty awful pretty quick because it's so
Okay.
chaotic already. But no, there's no ricochets. But it's mostly just you're choosing like a lob shot, so vertical, kind of up with a curve down, and then a horizontal, curve shot where you, essentially those are the two special throws. Whereas the normal throw is you're just locking onto them and you're just shooting it right at them. The benefit to that is I think it is a slight tad bit faster traveling. So most people will try to if they encounter someone with a ball, because you don't always have a ball in dodgeball. A lot of times you're just looking for one. What you'll do is you want to read any situation that you approach another player with like the intent that you're going to get that ball out of their hands and then return it to them and hit them out.
And it's all one hit knockouts?
No, it's 2 hits, except for
Okay.
this great part, what I'm about to mention, is if you're scrambling for ammo, a ball, you can't find one at any of the spawn points, say they've been taken or whatnot, you can actually go into a ball form and your teammate can hold you by your ass and throw you like a dodgeball. You'd be used exactly how you can be. But like you have a couple benefits to being in ball mode. A, if you're coordinating with someone, you basically have infinite ammo. B, you actually get a wider camera angle view lens of the area than the normal player would in the first person mode. It's not third person. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's so it's actually an added benefit if someone wants to team up and just be a ball. And you can see where they're going, you can see where they're coming from sooner. And another thing is when they charge you up. Here's another thing. So when you're locking onto someone, you're holding the mouse button or trigger, whatever you're using to control. When you're holding it, you're trying to get a lock. But when you're holding a player and you're trying to get a lock, you charge up maybe like 1 to 2 to 3 seconds. I don't remember how fast. It's a little bit faster than it should be, in my opinion. But you will become a bomb in their hand, and the bomb will only go off once you've been thrown and lobbed, and you have a little bit of input of where your arc is going to be and where you're going to land on an opponent, and then you can potentially get up to like 3 kills at once if they're all in the same area. So it's a pretty big benefit to teaming up like that. And in fact, there's actually a game mode where there's no balls and you have to do that. But it creates so many variables of so many things that can go wrong or go right in any given exchange with just a single player, let alone 3. So it's remarkably addicting gameplay. How does it sound so far? Does it sound like something you'd try?
It's reminds me a lot of a game that was super popular recently. I mean maybe this was like 5 years ago.
Well, here we
but
go.
but briefly for like a couple months period, there was a game on Steam called Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball or like
Whoa.
something to that effect. And people lost their shit over the game because despite just being like, the graphics were dumb where you were just like robots playing dodgeball,
Yeah.
it was like an arena shooter and people were super into it because it was fast paced and, jumping around an arena, throwing shit at other people, and it was fun. And, people who really liked, playing Quake back in the day and stuff were into having another, game that was kind of similar to it with like quick deaths, but all based on like fast movement and aiming and stuff. So I can definitely see it kind of having a similar appeal to that, but the wackiness with it, with like curve shots and throwing another player and stuff, that kind of reminds me of stuff like, like Windjammers or like Lethal League and,
Man.
just games that are like nutso.
That's a great comparison. I can't believe I didn't think about Windjammers, but yeah, it's a lot like Windjammers in how you choose to attack in a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds interesting. I'm not much of a multiplayer guy, but like what you're describing though sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, I mean I'm definitely a multiplayer person for sure, so I'm glad we have that balance. But This game, the reason I ask if it sounds like it'd be fun is because I think to most people it does, especially if you're into like arcadey kind of games where you have multiplayer and shit like that. But this game, the art style is I want to say terrible, but it has really good elements actually. The level design is great. Nothing wrong with it at all. It's got this very like cell shaded art deco kind of feel to it where like you can kind of tell when they were taking influence from like the visual aspects of Jet Grind Radio, Jet Set Radio Future, etc. They were trying to make it so like you as like I don't know, like a hip hop themed kind of character are in this very like conservative New York like old style construction. So it's an already like an artistic contrast right off the bat. And your point is to explore the level and spread, your like actual art influence by, tagging stuff in that game. But in this game, it doesn't seem to have like considered that aspect as much as part of the gameplay as rather than just the fucking multiplayer, which honestly, who cares at that point because it's fun as shit. I do recommend everyone play it. But the art style alone is like, man, the character art is like, I think there's probably a term for this, but I don't know it yet. It's this art style where everything is kind of samey. It's like that real samey, like teen grown up Pixar look. You know what I mean?
Oh. No, is it like Fortnite graphics?
So it's kind of like Fortnite, I guess.
Ooh,
but,
okay.
But with less character variance. Like you get there's not a very robust character creation tool, and I'm not one to be upset about that sort of thing because I will lose an entire week in a character creation if I'm allowed enough time to. But I do like just games where I can sit down and get right in the action. But like there's not like a character creator where you have, it all works off an inventory system. Except for like the male quote unquote female quote unquote form. It works very hard to be, not use any kind of gendered language at all in the game. Whatever. If that bothers you, then play the game. It's fun. But the actual art of it is like that kind of territory in what you'd expect. Very like, I want to say Life is Strange, but I know Life is Strange has like realistic kind of graphics from what I remember. It's like Life is Strange would be more comparable to something like Last of Us versus
Yeah, I remember it being a little in the middle where like it wasn't going for overly stylish, but it also wasn't going for photorealism. It was just kind of, you know, I could say, or I could see it being like they were going for the photorealistic, but had realistic budget for an indie title,
Yeah, I'm
and
looking at
didn't
that
just
too.
plug in a bunch of lighting effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. So this is definitely going to be that, and then take the knob that says cell shaded and then crank it up a little bit.
So I like cell shading.
There's nothing wrong with cell shading. I love cell shading.
Yeah.
But it's like that, not that kind of art style. Man, I wish I could name a game that I cared enough that had this kind of art style in it so I could give you an example. But it's like
I'm gonna type Knockout City into Google Images while you go on.
Yeah. So the character creation tool works off of like an inventory system. So there are a couple different faces, and they're so wide variety that they don't look like. Man, this is really going to come off sounding like I'm bothered that I can't like be more masculine in the game. There's no facial hair options in the entire game, but like there's all sorts of like hair that's different color and all this sort of thing. Like the quote unquote masculine form and the quote unquote feminine form. Well, the masculine form is just a bigger feminine form, kind of with slightly more broadened shoulders, if that makes sense. So it's like everyone kind of looks samey. There's not really any distinction between the characters aside from what you unlock in the game. So it's like I can be this like 50s like greaser gang like leather jacket kind of kid with like a pompadour hairstyle, and then you'll be fighting a team full of people that look like they worked at Mondo Burger from Good Burger, like we're in those weird like silver shiny jumpsuits with all the lights on them and shit. And it's like either okay, that guy is gonna destroy us in this match, or that guy paid the $30 to get all these extra loot boxes and crap, because that's definitely how they're modeling their unlock system. Is yeah, you can play a little bit here and there, and you'll unlock an item here and there, but you could pay for all these loot boxes, and yeah, you know the story.
Okay, so yeah, you're saying that like it's a game that really restricts your ability to express yourself unless you've unlocked a bunch of shit or paid, which you might have had to pay for because does it do the loot? I'm sorry if maybe you just said this, but it
It does the
are the
loot box system,
cosmetics
yes.
only loot boxes?
No, not only loot
Oh,
boxes, no.
not only.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's another thing that it doesn't bother me that much because of that. But you pointed it out really well, actually. You said it doesn't let you express yourself. Yes, but in a way that almost makes every character feel like they're over expressing themselves, because every character is extra as fuck with all the accessories, the hairstyles, the light up clothes and everything, which whatever, I don't care. It's a fucking arcade game. It's supposed to feel fun and bright and colorful. I don't give a fuck. It's really just artistically not my thing, except for the level design. The level design fantastic.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm looking at a trailer of it right now,
Mm,
and I'd say, like, at least in my opinion or my definitions of it, I wouldn't call it cell shaded at all. I
yeah,
think it looks identical to Fortnite. I'm looking at this. This looks exactly like Fortnite
it does look
to a very
like
annoying
yeah.
degree.
Like the graphics itself look very Fortnite, but it's the character art specifically that you'll kind of just notice what I mean. I'm sure you can make characters like these in Fortnite instantly, but
hmm
I don't play Fortnite.
So yeah. I mean, I'm looking at this trailer. I can totally hear exactly what you're saying. Where this gameplay looks super fun,
Yeah.
and boy, do I hate what the art style looks like.
That's my bone to pick with this game is fuck its art. I don't. Oh my god! Like even the a lot of the stuff that you're meant to enjoy about a game like this, the whole point to make your character look like it knows what the fuck it's doing or having a great time doing it. Either one, and then all the options that you get in the downloads are, or not downloads, but like unlocks. All of the options are just dog shit ugly for the most part. Like stylistically, it looks like fuck. What's that artist name? Of course, that I'm blanking on now. But Don't Believe Me, Just Watch is one of his names. Bruno Mars. Take Bruno Mars, put him on a potentiometer on the gauge of a video game development company, and they cranked it right the fuck off. That's what the art is like, and also Fortnite. I agree, but
Yeah.
I guess I didn't have a whole lot to say about that. It's fun as shit. I mean, I'm gonna say like the 1v1 is so ridiculously intense because like, damn it, I was gonna. I knew this was like a Fortnite thing, but I attribute it to PUBG. But in the 1v1, time does count down. And the less time, or the more time that goes by that you don't spend taking off HP of your opponent, there's a big pink laser net that closes in on the map area, and you can't go out of it unless you want to start losing HP very rapidly.
Yeah. So it forces you to get closer to your enemy until, you're for sure in the same place at some point.
Yeah, and I had this great 1v1 standoff on my favorite level is it's like a burger joint place, like Galaxy Burger, that's what it's called. Take Pizza Planet from Toy Story, make it a burger shop, and it's round, and you got this place with an arcade inside it too. It's 2 levels though in the center in the giant burger-shaped restaurant, and the map had closed around the burger. We had lost the ability to travel up and down the floors because the thing was closing in so slow. And it got to the point where the map was literally just closing in a circle around me. And I just had to stand in the circle. And I was looking. We had this Obi-Wan Kenobi Darth Maul moment where we're just looking at each other in the barriers and seeing who's going to fuck up first. Well, They fought each other once it opened, but we're looking at each other that way. I'm looking him down through the glass floor. He's looking up at me. I have 2 points of HP, which is a full health bar, and he's only got 1 point. And I'm just sitting there like, it's just the waiting game now. And then there are situations where that can happen, and you somehow still maintained a lock on that character through the window, through the glass, and you lob a fast or slow curveball up and right at the correct angle outside of the door, out of the level bound, so it comes right back up and hits him.
Oh, like the boomerang in Black Dynamite?
Basically. I haven't seen Black Dynamite. Man, I really wanted to, actually. Was that good?
Oh, it's excellent.
I needed to.
Also, the moment you said Galaxy Burger, I've been thinking about the Tom Green show ever since, because of the one where he makes his car into a spaceship, and then he's like acting like a space person or an alien or whatever, and he's at a fast food place asking for a Galaxy Burger and some space fries. Anyway,
I'd never seen that.
so your story that you're telling about the closing in, that happened in PUBG or Fortnite?
No, this happened in Knockout City.
Oh,
Yeah.
because I thought you were just talking about some other story, and now you're going back to Knockout City.
No,
Okay, so
that was all Knockout City.
right. That's why 2 HP was a full health bar. All right, that makes sense now.
And
Gotcha.
also said curveball, too.
Well, when you went to the curveball, I was like, okay, now we're talking about what this would. Yeah,
Oh,
I was
no,
following
no.
your story weirdly.
Sorry, no,
Gotcha.
I explained the stories poorly. Sorry.
So
yeah.
about the art style, talking about it kind of reminds me of another game I've been seeing recently called Biomutant. I haven't played it, but I've seen a little bit about it, and that game also is like when I first saw the trailer for it, it's like an open world game where you play as like an anthropomorphized animal.
Yeah, so
Um,
it looked
and
like a
it's
little raccoon, right?
yeah, and there's a little bit of customization to it, right? Where you can be like a fighter or a rogue or a wizard kind of thing, or maybe it's ranger and there's not magic. I don't really know, but I watched this trailer and I kind of liked what the guy was saying about it. They were saying like because they were name dropping, and I wish more game trailers would name drop where they were saying like, yeah, we really like Breath of the Wild, and like we want to make an open world game that's kind of more like that. And I'm like, hey, that sounds good. And they kind of went through like, oh, it's this open world game where you're gonna have a lot of choices and you can build your character in different ways and all this kind of stuff. But good God, I'm looking at this trailer and I hate this art style. Like
Really?
yeah, not just the art style, but a lot of it is the menus. The menus
Ah.
and like the interface looks like Fortnite. And I'm wondering if this is like gonna be a thing now. Where how the PS3 generation, everyone like kind of jokes about how everything was brown. That whole generation was just brown. I feel like we might be
Wait,
getting into like the Fortnite generation now, where everything looks like Fortnite.
why was everything brown?
Because a lot of it was because everything was post-apocalyptic, but then the other part of it was that it was photorealistic. Like games just generally looked more realistic if they were more brown a lot of the time. You know what I mean?
I could see that, I guess.
Taking examples of like Gears of War and Fallout 3, Metal Gear Solid 4, all games that like had very good graphics. Well, maybe not Fallout 3 so much, but were also very very brown.
Fallout 3 was very fucking brown. I know
Yeah.
that, so yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I'm looking at the menu here, and it looks like they chose to do this weird tilt slant with the text, kind of like how they do in Persona, except it's not slanted in the way that Persona's is with the menu.
Oh, yeah, like everything's kind of italicized or not quite, lined up with the frames of the screen and
Yeah.
whatnot.
It's like you're not
So,
looking
yeah,
at the right viewing angle or something.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to say about Biomutant. I just, I
Yeah.
saw the trailer and I was like, it sounds okay, but it also sounds like the kind of game that if I'm real picky with open world stuff.
But you liked it though, right?
So I haven't played it.
Oh, okay. You're just
yeah,
talking about the art style.
Yeah, just talking about the art style, and then I did watch someone play it a little bit on Twitch, and I thought the combat looked real bad. So I don't know if I'm gonna bother with it. But hey, it's out now. I would encourage people to look it up for themselves and check it out because it looks like something that if it's your kind of thing, then maybe you'll really like it. But yeah.
I, yeah, I like that Knockout City is a success story for me because usually, especially as a person into fighting games, if the art of something is bad, when it comes to fighting games, it's just way more bad than it would be in other games, I think. But in general, art typically, well, maybe not even art, just the way shit looks. It's got to look good. If it doesn't look good, then I typically don't. It doesn't grab my attention. I'm not saying it's bad, but like there are games like Knockout City where I think just look kind of dog shit, dude. But they're so much fun. So I like success stories like that.
Yeah. Do you know who made the game?
Yeah, so I know it's an EA game. I think it actually may be just straight up EA.
Oh, that's surprising.
I think it says it's
Well, maybe not.
yeah, I think it's an EA original actually, is what they labeled
Okay.
it. But I'm not sure. I know it's in the Epic Store. It forces you to use not the Epic Store. Damn it, EA's Origin. It uses you to
Okay.
forces you to
Oh,
use
you
Origin.
have to get it through Origin?
No, so it's on Steam, but Steam
Okay.
launches Origin.
Oh, I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, some Steam games will launch Uplay or Origin or
Oh,
whatever other thing
Uplay's way
to
worse.
launch them. Yeah. Yeah, I got a free game recently for like a giveaway that a streamer was doing, and
Hmm.
when they sent me the code and mentioned it was a Uplay code, I was like, maybe just give it to the
Yeah.
next person. I don't deal with Uplay.
Take that shit out of here. Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna say God, the worst though. I think, man, the worst had to be Games for Windows Live. Do you remember that?
so I have one positive thing to say about Games for Windows Live,
Okay.
and it has to do with Fallout 3 again.
Oh.
So Fallout 3 had this really bad habit of crashing anytime that you tried to alt tab, And this carried over to New Vegas and Oblivion and stuff. Just Bethesda games in general. That Gamebryo engine hates being alt tabbed, It'll just
Gamebryo.
crash when you Gamebryo. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the engine that like Fallout 3 and Oblivion and Skyrim and New Vegas are on.
I thought. Oh, okay. I've heard Gamebryo before. I didn't think that was that engine though.
Mm. I could be wrong. I think so though. Anyway, but the point is that the engine that all those games are on hate being alt tabbed, and you end up crashing your game all the time. However, if you hit that home key and you opened the Games for Windows Live interface, then you could alt tab out of the game. Do whatever you wanted, alt tab back in, it'll go just fine,
Huh.
and then you hit the button to exit it. It made it so you could do that. So, hey, cool. That's the one good thing I have to say about it. Other than that, it was horseshit. I hated it.
I was gonna say a Windows feature works with a Windows program. Who would have thought?
Right. Hey, it makes the game behave how it should in this one particular way.
To be fair, I mean, that's not a common thing where Windows things work with other Windows things. Not all the time, anyway. But yeah. All right. So, Knockout City, success story, awful art, great gameplay. Go play it. We had a retro game to talk about on this retro podcast.
That's right. I've been playing The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons, which is less retro than I thought it was. This fucking game came out in like 2001 or something. It came out after Majora's Mask.
What is up with Game Boy Color games coming out at Game Boy Advance time, man?
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, right. So Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons is a Zelda game for the Game Boy Color, and it looks a lot like Link's Awakening, right? Most people are familiar with Link's Awakening and how that game generally looks. Oracle of Seasons looks very, very similar. But it's on the Game Boy Color, and so, There was Link's Awakening DX that worked with Game Boy Color stuff,
Hmm.
so it kind of looks more like that. But in general, this game looks a little bit more impressive than either of those. As in, like, just the Game Boy Color seems to have some neat things to it that I didn't know it had. Just where there's some nice visual effects here and there,
Oh yeah.
on top of it just being in color. Like the opening cutscene, for example, looks really really good.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I was
so.
watching you stream that, and I saw that, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Whoa, this is Game Boy Color. This is great. That's fantastic."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it plays a lot like Link's Awakening, except just everything about it is better. So I'll give you like the brief talk about Link's Awakening, which is that is kind of my favorite Zelda. Partly because I'm very nostalgic for it since it was like the first game I ever owned. And how it works as a Zelda game is that it's kind of clunky and kind of tedious because you can equip it's not like the NES game where B is always your sword and then A is whatever you switch it to. Uh it is more like you can change B and A and you have to do that all the time. So like you can change what is equipped on B and you can change what is equipped on A for two different things. But that means that you don't always have a dedicated sword button, right? So you pretty much have B on sword most of the time because you're fighting things pretty often. But the thing that makes it kind of tedious is that like anytime that you want to pick up an object, you have to equip the power brace. Anytime that you want to jump over a pit, you have to equip the jump item. And that's mainly the thing is that those two items you're having to flip around all the time.
Ew.
Yeah. So like there is a lot of like pausing, equip the other thing, unpause, do the action, then repause, go back to the thing you wanted and unpause, right? So that you can get past one obstacle. There's a lot of that. And then there's one more thing that makes it very tedious, which is that all of those objects that you can interact with in such a way have this blurb of text that pop up should you ever accidentally bump into them, you know? If you like press link into a rock that you need the power brace to pick up, it brings up this text box that says like, "Wow, this object looks heavy. You'll need a special item to tackle this obstacle," or something like that. And like it has to type it out and it's Game Boy, so the screen in the text box is tiny. So it's like 4 lines of text that you have to scroll through in order to do that. Every single fucking time that you bump into a rock, you know? So like that kind of thing with the game is extremely tedious. But it's a great game because the thing about Zelda is that Link's Awakening was only the third Zelda game, right?
I want to say,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the third. No, no, it came out after Link to the Past. It was
Did it?
the. I think so. It came out in like 93 or 94 and I
I'll look
think
it up.
Link to the Past was like 91. Anyway, um the thing about Zelda 1 and 2 is that they don't really have puzzles so much as they have secrets. You know what I mean? So like there's a part like for example, maybe there's a
93, by the
part
way.
in yeah, for Link's Awakening.
Hmm.
And then so like in Zelda 1 there's like a room where you need to push a certain block to reveal a staircase, right? That's not really a puzzle. That's just like a secret. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it came out
Uh
after Link to the Past. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
mhm. Versus like a series of blocks that you need to push in a certain sequence in order to like get through the room, right? That's more of a puzzle. And Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 don't really have anything like that. But Link to the Past does, and Link's Awakening do. So those were the games to me that like actually brought Zelda into these games that had these cool puzzles in them, you know? And dungeons where you had to like really logic stuff out. And I thought that was really fun. So yeah, like the dungeon design in Link's Awakening is really, really good, and the world map is really great. It's just got those bits of tedium to it, you know. Oracle of Seasons is like Link's Awakening, but they made everything better, you know. Like the visuals are a bit better. Uh, The soundtrack is about the same in some areas, but it's got a couple dungeon tunes that are just bangers.
Hmm.
But then like they got rid first of all, they got rid of they made text scroll faster. So now when there's those text boxes, you can just mash through them and they go much quicker. Great. Also, they made it so that like you don't get the wow this is heavy text box unless you push into a rock for like a half a second, you know?
Wait.
So
So this is, are we talking about the upgrades in Oracle of Seasons over
from
Link's
Link's
Awakening?
Awakening.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, they kind of took all the little bits of tedium and they made them better by having it be like you don't accidentally trigger these text boxes all the time, and when you do trigger them, you can get through them a lot faster. But then on top of that, just the map design is really good and the dungeons are like real good. Just like very good puzzles. I think this game like it walked the line really perfectly between it's not too easy to where everything feels like a chore because it's so obvious to figure out. You just have to do it and it's time consuming. So it's like doing your fucking chores, you know?
Mm.
But it's not too hard where like it's where you're just like stuck and, then you see the solution to the puzzle and you're like, oh, that's stupid, you know? Nothing like that. It's like right in the middle where it's just a really decent challenge.
Well, there's
Uh,
so this is the cartridge that is mostly like gold with red text, right? Like red accents, Oracle of Seasons.
well, it is mostly red with gold accents, but yes, it's red and gold.
Oh yeah, okay.
And
So
then
there's a twin game, isn't there? That's blue
yes,
rather than red. Which
that's
game is
right.
that?
That is The Legend of Zelda Oracle of
Oracle of
Ages,
Ages. Okay.
which I haven't played yet. So I'm also glad that you brought up that these games came out in Game Boy Advance time, because the deal was what I heard is that the other weird thing about these games is that they're developed by Capcom and not by Nintendo. And the
Oh yeah.
story with that is that Capcom got a deal with Nintendo to make three Zelda games. So they made Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, and there was apparently going to be a third game, and it was going to be like a trinity, right? Instead of like the Pokemon Red Blue thing. Um, well, I shouldn't even compare it to that because Oracle of Seasons and Ages are two totally different games
Yeah.
apparently with like totally different dungeons and stuff.
Okay.
Anyway, point is, they were supposed to make three games. However, they kind of ran out of time on Game Boy Color, right? By the time both Oracle of Seasons and Ages were out, they wanted to make a Game Boy Advance game for the next one, and that became The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap, which is the Game Boy Advance Zelda game made by Capcom.
There we go.
So yeah, that's kind of like a little interesting tidbit about it. But yeah, I mean, I don't have like a ton to say about the game except that it's really good. And like if you're a Zelda fan, it is not optional, Like this because the thing is I feel like a lot of people haven't played Oracle of Seasons, and maybe I'm projecting because it was just a game that I was never interested in when I was younger, even though I loved Link's Awakening. For some reason, this game was just like, there's two of them. Like for some reason, the fact that there were two of them just seemed like, well, I'm never going to be able to get both of them. So, whatever. We'll just skip these ones.
Well, it's funny you
Um,
say that. I when I hear end of console life cycle and then also Zelda, my immediate thought was, oh God, how much is this game now after the pandemic and whatnot?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like there definitely was a goddamn jump right around like 2020. Actually, yeah, it went straight up at the 2020 mark basically. And it is currently $52 for just the cartridge.
Yeah.
Thank you, God.
Yeah, complete in box, they are both over $100.
Oh yeah, I don't even look at that. I was like $500. I was like, fuck that. I didn't even think
yeah,
about
well,
complete in box Nintendo games, man.
so Game Boy, I got into it, man. It
Really?
was like, yeah, Game Boy games, I got to get in their boxes nowadays
Whoa.
because it started with Mario Land. It started like 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, I'm gonna get Mario Land because I had those games as a kid, but I don't have them anymore. And I looked it up, and oh, the complete in box, they weren't very much. So I was like, okay. And then I got a few more Game Boy Advance games in their boxes, and just because it wasn't that much more. I actually found my childhood copy of Golden Sun and Pokemon Fire Red, which were in their boxes. So I'm like, shit. I guess I'm a box boy now as far as
You
Game Boy
saved your
games
boxes
go.
as a kid. That's impressive.
Only. Well, yeah, yeah. Actually, for Game Boy Advance, yes. But the Game Boy games, I don't even know where the Game Boy games are anymore. I don't know what happened to those,
What
you
made you
know.
save them back in the day? Because like, man, that's a fucked up mentality that put in my head as a kid was all the boxes are just paper, so throw them away.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I just liked them.
Yeah.
I liked the artwork on them. Golden Sun was a game that came with like, well, there's like the manual and the map and all that. I actually though, I hung the map on my wall, so it wasn't
Yeah.
just to keep, it wasn't just to keep that. But yeah, I guess as a kid it was just that like I had a spot in my closet to put the boxes, so I did, and then they survived. The Golden Sun one kind of barely survived though. It got crushed.
That's what I
It's
was going
not
to
in good
say.
condition.
When it comes to collecting boxes for older Nintendo games, I feel like you're spending so much money and you're not even getting like the longevity of like a Sega Genesis clamshell box that'll survive a nuclear bomb drop, Like they're
Yeah.
all, you put them together and they're already squishing and deforming, I
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not crushing them, I'm not dropping any
yeah.
nuclear warheads on my collection, right? So,
Boy, I do
one
all the time.
nowadays, once they're on the shelf, then I'm not too worried about their health,
Yeah.
because it'll be good there. But yeah, so Oracle of Seasons is like, I think it's one of the best Zeldas I've played. I just really, really liked the dungeon designs and the puzzles and the writing too. Like it was funny. There was a lot of really, really great dialogue. Especially there's like an underworld that you go to where all the people are like taking baths in the lava and like they eat the lava and stuff,
Oh.
and they're those cute little designs that you love where they're like hooded but they got glowy eyes in the hoods, and
Oh,
one
like
of them goes on
Vivi?
a yeah, yeah. One of them goes on a date with you and everyone else is jealous, it's good stuff. Like very humorous game, and yeah, I just kind of really liked everything about it, and I'm really excited to play Oracle of Ages now. I'm going to give it a minute though. We're going to slip a Castlevania game in there first. But yeah, I'm very excited for Oracle of Ages now cuz Seasons was real good.
I was
And
gonna say
that's
it's not surprising that Capcom made a good game, especially at
yeah.
that time. It's surprising to me to learn that Capcom had the license to make a Zelda game, because how many times did Nintendo realistically do that with their mainline IPs, especially something as big as Zelda? They have Rare making Donkey Kong. That, and Donkey Kong is not even, Donkey Kong was a massive IP for Nintendo, but realistically today, he's a Smash character. But like in
Well,
hmm?
well with Zelda, they
Oh,
actually did
sorry, I didn't
they
know you had
actually
more.
did license another company to make 3 Zelda games already. And
Whoa.
that company was Philips, and it was a
Oh yeah.
goddamn disaster. Fucking disaster. So it is surprising that they did it again.
Yeah, I was just about to say, hang on, because that was definitely before this happened. But I guess
Mm,
Capcom just has that name behind it. Philips wasn't doing
right.
shit at the time. Philips was making CD hardware. They weren't like providing. They approached Philips for a reason of we need cheap CD players for our console. Not really
Yeah.
like let's make a good game. But yeah, I wonder, man, could you imagine the meeting the meeting between Philips and Nintendo going down in a certain way where it's just like Philips just rails a line of coke in the bathroom like we're gonna get us a fucking Zelda game out of this deal. And it worked somehow. I don't know. They tried something, got burned, but man, Capcom, I guess at the same time was still making platformers because they made Shantae in 2001. on the
Oh
Game Boy
yeah, and
Color.
that was Game Boy Color. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And that's what made me like wonder why the fuck this game came out in 2001 if it's a mainline Zelda game.
Yeah.
But I need to get into these Zelda games, especially the Game Boy ones, because Game Boy's my favorite hardware just because of how much you can do with so little.
So oh shit, I lost it. It was about those
Capcom?
Philips Zelda games and
Oh,
about Capcom.
wait, Capcom has something to do with that?
No, no. Oh, yes, yes. Okay, so the games that Philips made, the Wand of Gamelon and the Faces of Evil and Zelda's Adventure. I'm not sure about Zelda's Adventure, but I know at least the other two, those actually got released on PC recently.
Yeah, that's right. They
So
did.
yeah, you no longer need a CDI or an emulator to play those games. They came out very much in their original form, for better or for worse, on PC, and you can play those now. So that's kind of fun and cool.
Yeah, but why would you
Just
do that? Why
it's
would you
just a
buy
nice piece of history. That's all.
why would you buy that game on a PC when you could just go to Craigslist of some city 200 miles away and pay $300 for a Philips CDI that doesn't work to get modded extensively, and then maybe 3 months later you'll play the worst Zelda games imaginable? Why wouldn't you do it that way?
Yeah,
That's the way I kind of
ask
wanted to do.
myself that very often.
Man, that was the way that Game Grumps actually played those games. They actually bought a Philips CDI. Like I remember the skit specifically starting off with Dan going, so Aaron's not allowed to touch the wallet anymore or whatever, because guess how much money he just went out to spend. And it turns out he spent a lot of the money mostly because the Zelda games are expensive on there, but like he got the third game, it was Zelda's Adventure, was that it? That
Yeah.
was the one that was actually never even finished, right? Because like Philips at the time was like, this shit didn't work, and like one of them
I
is
don't
not.
know.
One of them was like a later release. It wasn't the full game.
Interesting. All I really know about that is just that AVGN did a series of videos about it, and Zelda's Adventure was on there, and I know he did it on real hardware as well.
Yeah, well,
So
they did it
as
on.
far as I know, it came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did it on real hardware as well. It's just I'm just remembering the third one. Whatever the third game was the one that was like half a game.
Okay, you're saying it came out. It just seemed like it was unfinished.
I think so. In my
Gotcha.
incredibly unresearched opinion.
Okay, okay. Yeah, all I know is that they came out and they're all garbage. And Zelda's Adventure is the one that's like top down and is trying to be more like a traditional Zelda game, while the
Oh.
other two were like side scrollers, more like Zelda 2.
The
But
unfinished
oh
one was a
god,
side scroller.
I dare. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I dare not compare them to Zelda 2 though, because Zelda 2 is actually fantastic.
Yeah, there's
Um,
other things I've got my eyes set on when it comes to the Philips CDI if I can ever find one.
yeah.
Oh my god, have you ever seen this is actually from the Game Grumps where they were like, well, let's put the CDI to work. So they got a golf game and the golf game is narrated by Eugene Levy for some reason. Does that name
That's
sound
very
familiar?
strange.
Okay, so you know who he
Yeah,
is.
I think so. I know he's an actor,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like a teacher,
Yeah,
right?
he's
In a
been a
certain
teacher in a couple
show.
things.
Was he in Boy Meets World or Saved by the Bell or something like that?
I don't think he was in Boy Meets World, but no, this is the guy that was in American Pie as the dad. He has the really big bushy eyebrows with the thick glasses, short dark
Yeah.
hair. Typically like the Jewish dad, quote unquote, role he played in.
Was he on like SNL or something?
I'm sure he's definitely been a couple times.
Or no, okay, okay. It doesn't really matter, but all I know him from is he was on some
It's
kind
important
of
that
like
you know his voice
sketch.
though.
He's on like some kind of sketch show, and I just remember them announcing his name every week, Eugene Levy, and I was like, wow, that's a fun name to say.
You got
And
his
that's it.
accent down pretty much. Imagine a
That's
golf
all I
game
know.
being narrated by that and dad jokes from like the 70s.
Okay.
And the golf game, it's it almost is like RNG at certain points about whether or not you get a hole, but every stroke of the ball, well, first of all, every hit of the ball is like one animation, maybe two different like sets of animations, and then every possible outcome of where the ball can go in on the mini golf map is its own video that plays. You will never have a different
Oh,
result.
it's an
It's an
FMV golf
FMV
game?
golf game.
Ooh, that's
And watching Game Grumps, watching Aaron actually lose his mind after the 58th same recording playing, no matter what input he puts into the stroke, is one of the best forms of therapy I've found on YouTube.
oh
So the
boy.
Philips CDI is something I want to explore.
Some genres cannot be done in FMV. You know what I saw one time that I was surprised though at how well it worked? Have you ever heard of the game Mega Race?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty silly. It's like a racing game, but it's got like a Running Man kind of style, like or Smash TV style announcer, you know?
Oh, okay.
Like a big personality that's like running the
Yeah.
show. Man, I wish I could remember the guy's name because he's really funny. But
What's the
at
game
least the
called?
one that
Mega Throw
Mega
or
Race.
Mega Race?
The one that I saw, the track was FMV. So you were like a 3D modeled car, and all the
Oh,
cars were 3D models, but the track moving was an FMV that played at a speed depending on how fast you were driving, you know?
jeez.
Uh, which, yeah, it was real weird, but hey, it looked pretty neat back then.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So, well, the FMV games were impressive to me because I didn't understand what I was looking at. I thought I was just
yeah.
seeing an amazing, well-programmed graphics game. But the okay, so Mega Race is a fictional game host. His name is Lance Boyle, which is a
Okay, yep.
hilarious name, I guess, for the squeezing of a pimple or doing away with. But
Yeah, and he looks kind of like Doc Brown or Christopher Lloyd. Is
oh,
it Doc
okay.
Brown in Back to the Future, or is it just Doc?
It's Doc Brown, I'm pretty sure. Yep. And
Okay, okay,
Christopher
yeah.
Lloyd's the actor.
He's got like a little bit of a Christopher Lloyd energy to him, you know. But
It's hilarious that you say that. My friend Tyler is like, he can do the most perfect impression of Christopher Lloyd because he has the face and everything. It's crazy. But in a racing game,
well, you're right because it's got like a Smash TV like kind of vibe to it, you
mm.
know. Maybe I don't know. I've never seen Death Race, but I imagine it might be kind of like that. Anyway, I've got another thing to mention.
Oh,
Because I'm kind of already done talking about Zelda.
me
Zelda
too.
is Oracle of Seasons is real good, and everyone should play it because it's one of the best Zelda games I've played, and I've played most of the Zelda games at this point.
I'm way more into
Um,
it after you told me it's a lot like everything about Link's Awakening, but better.
yeah. Uh, so I s- I watched the Mortal Kombat movie the other day.
Which one?
The first one.
Good. So you watched the great one.
So it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. When's the last time you've seen it?
Actually, a long time ago. I have it on VHS, and I do plan on streaming it now that my retro tank can do VHS. Hell yeah. I'm gonna watch it
Yeah.
soon, but I still remember it being like, as a movie, objectively better than all the other ones.
So I haven't seen any of the other ones, so
Oh,
I can
you're in
only
for a
speak
treat.
to it. I can only speak to it just as a movie. I'm pretty sure I saw Annihilation when I was a kid. All I remember is there being a part where like Liu Kang is like in a steel ball thing, like going through the like a volcano or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I remember. But I watched the first one the other day, and I don't know, man. It's funny
It's yeah,
because
it's Mortal Kombat.
well, it's interesting because like it really seems like there were people involved with that movie that were genuinely trying to make a good movie. right?
Hmm.
Some of the performances were good, even great. A lot of the writing was good in that it was like, yeah, they're making a movie and here's their idea for the plot and here's the characters they're gonna follow. And all the scenes make sense and shit. But it also and being a Mortal Kombat movie, there was a nice emphasis on fight scenes.
Hmm.
But there was this very clear vibe of it's a kids movie going on. You know what I mean? It was PG-13 firstly, and it
Somehow.
really just felt like a kids movie. The way that like a lot of the writing was done
Oh yeah.
and just how like tame everything was and like the dumb fan service and also like just some of the things were real embarrassing to look at. For example, Reptile. Reptile
Oh.
was like a goofy CG lizard for most of the movie, and let me tell you, the CG was by far this movie's weakest
Oh,
point.
absolutely.
Like sometimes the CG was done because they wanted to do like a big camera shot of like look how cool the places that they're in. And so there would just be a really terrible looking green screen of them, and then the camera pans out and wow, look at the CG. It looks okay, I guess. But when you got to shit like Reptile, the lizard man that was like jumping around, it looked straight up embarrassing.
It's
Like I
bad.
was I was physically cringing and feeling very embarrassed that I convinced my girlfriend to watch this movie with me.
How do you think
Um,
I feel as a reptile main? I have
it
never had a good like it's a meme in Mortal Kombat history that there will never ever be a good accurate adaptation representation of reptile.
it was bad. But then there was other stuff too, though, like when Scorpion holds his hand up, right, and like the thing comes out, the hook comes out, but it's like a little dragon head or something.
Yeah.
That thing was CG and looked
Terrible.
fucking terrible.
Awful.
Oh man, like
Mostly
so
because it never actually supposed to have it was never supposed to be a little demon with a mouth. It's cool that they tried to emphasize it for the movie, but it's always been a ninja spear on a rope or chain that is thrown forward. It's never been happens at 10 minutes in animation and then like somehow you're just going to get hit by that.
Yeah, and this kind of thing is like that, and that's the kind of stuff that was like screaming kids movie during
Yep.
the viewing of it. And then some of the other stuff was like I think that they okay. I mentioned the fan service. I think really the thing with that was just that they did it too early. And what I'm talking about is it was like the very first fight where after they fight, Shao Kahn says, flawless victory. And I think first of all they said flawless victory too many times. They should have kept it to once and they should have saved it. The other thing that
Agreed.
they should have saved was the finish him because man, I'm forgetting the exact details, but I felt like there was one scene where they did the finish him way too
Did you
early
say
at a
Shao Kahn
time.
said that, by the way?
Yeah, am I
Well,
am I
so I'm trying
wrong?
to make sure you're not thinking about Armageddon because he's the boss of Armageddon. He's the boss of Mortal Kombat 2. It's Shang Tsung who's like the wizard sorcerer guy who takes guys' souls and he becomes you. Yeah.
I am thinking of Shang
Okay. Yeah.
Tsung,
Yeah.
yes. Because Shao Kahn is the guy that he can do like the fireballs going forward and then the fireballs
That's
coming
Shang Tsung,
back,
actually.
but they're
Yeah.
coming out of the ground.
That's Shang Tsung. Shao Kahn's the big dumb
Oh,
idiot with the gigantic green hammer who can like charge you at like lightning speed and then throw a projectile. The only projectile in the game you can't duck or something at that point.
okay. I get some of these names a
No,
little
it's okay. Yeah,
confused.
yeah.
But
Shang Tsung is like the main baddie from MK1, MK the movie. You're right.
okay. So anyway, I felt like they did the finish him or maybe it was the opposite where they didn't do it at the right time.
So
Anyway,
I think there's a scene early on where like one of the combatants is against a potential ally. It was either Katana or Liu Kang. They're meeting for the first time, and he's like, "Finish him!" And it's just like, like no. It's like, who is this guy? Maybe he'll help us or something. It's been so long since I've seen it, but that's what I remember. Are you talking about that early kind of scene?
yeah, gosh, I wish I could remember now, but it's been a few weeks.
We really are a podcast of old grumpy, man. Can't remember the
I
shit we're even
know,
trying to complain
fuck.
about.
It's like I think with the Finish Him, it was like there was one part in the movie where it was really dramatic that someone was gonna die.
Yeah.
I think it was because like Goro was fighting him or something, and they didn't do the Finish Him at that part. Like that should have been the part where they're like, "Oh no, our friend is getting beaten up in the fight," and then the main bad guy's like, "Finish him," and then as an audience, we're like, "Oh no," But they didn't do that. But instead, they threw it into another fight where it didn't matter because like the
Aw.
person that they were fighting wasn't someone that we knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was something like that. I don't know. I
Hollywood
feel like
magic.
they missed the mark on a few of the
You have to admit, though.
catchphrases.
You have to admit. Oh shit! Hang on. I hope I'm thinking about the first movie where there's a scene that's mentioned of sunglasses. Does that sound familiar to you?
I mean, Johnny Cage is one of the main characters.
Uh huh. Does something happen to his sunglasses? Do you remember?
Maybe.
Okay, then I'm not
I
going to
don't know.
spoil
Do
it.
you are
It
you
might be the
trying are
movie
you
after.
trying not to spoil it?
Yeah, I don't
Oh
want to
no,
spoil the
just
movie
say
after.
it. Just say it. I probably just forgot.
Well, there's a golden scene, like the honestly like one of the crown jewels, if you'll excuse the expression, of the movie is Johnny Cage starting his fight off with Goro, and it pulls the glasses off his face and crushes him in one of his many hands, and he's just like, "Those were $600 sunglasses, asshole," and then just like drops down in Johnny Cage fashion and just socks him right in the nuts. Yeah, like
Yes,
yeah.
that was in the movie.
Okay, so that was the
think.
first movie. I was just making sure.
Yeah. Goro is in it. What's interesting is that the movie has a whole bunch of terrible, embarrassing CG, but then Goro is like stop motion. He's done totally
He's stop
differently by
motion,
like
but
a
he's
different guy.
also actual or special effects makeup too.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's a dude in that suit, but actually, hang on, stop motion. I'm thinking like claymation.
It really looks like stop motion. Well, claymation and stop motion
yeah.
are like super similar.
Yeah, except no clay. Except there's definitely probably clay in the special. Anyway, it was done really well though. I agree. Except it's really slow because he was. I feel like the way that they shot it forced it to be kind of a slow scene, whereas Goro's actually a kind of fast, terrifying fighter.
Yeah, and I wouldn't go so far as to say Goro looked good. He just looked a lot better than the CG stuff.
Okay, yeah, comparatively, I should have said.
Yeah. But yeah, to praise the movie though, I really thought it was a good idea to have it be like, all right, our main characters are gonna be like Sonya, Johnny Cage, and Liu Kang, and to some degree Raiden. Like it was a good idea to kind of focus on. I think it was just the cast of the first game, right? Because then there was Reptile, Kano. Was Goro in the first game?
Goro is a boss, yes, is a sub boss. Like Kentaro is his brother in Mortal Kombat 2. There's Goro as the sub boss. There's Shang Tsung as the boss. You can't play those characters. Reptile's a hidden boss, so he's not a playable character in the first game. In the first game, you have Scorpion, Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage, Liu Kang, Sub-Zero, and Kano, and is there another one I'm missing? That might actually be it.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Because I really like, I guess, Raiden.
Raiden, yes, there we go. Thank you.
And that's 7, so there must be an 8th. But anyway, so was Jax in it?
Jax was in 2, not in the first one.
Okay. Because I think Jax was in the movie, but other than that, I feel like feel like that's the only character that wasn't in the first game.
Jax was definitely in the second movie. I don't remember if he's in the first.
Okay.
But if Sonya's there, she's definitely probably looking for Jax. So yeah, he's probably in the first movie too.
Yeah, like Jax was mentioned or something, anyway. Point is though, I really did like how they kind of kept the roster pretty small and focused on a few characters as the protagonists, and it seemed like everyone was trying to make a good movie, and the fight scenes were pretty great. Like, there were a couple fight scenes where, like, whenever CG was involved, it was shitty,
Yeah.
But when they did just do like a martial arts fight, like there's a really good fight scene between Johnny Cage and Scorpion where it's just a few minutes long of just like good choreographed martial arts. There's a part where they're like up on these scaffolds, right? And Johnny Cage does like a gymnastics thing where he like jumps onto a bar, and then like flips around it and flips off of it to grab another thing to get up high,
Yeah, man, he does all his own stunts.
That was the actor doing his own stunts?
No, but Johnny Cage was doing his own stunts.
Of Johnny Cage?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I really liked the fight scenes, and overall, just having Liu Kang be kind of the main character, and it being about like his brother or whatever,
they needed that because Liu Kang otherwise is pretty boring story wise. Like even Ed Boon, I want to say Ed Boon said himself he's always hated Liu Kang because he's always been kind of the entire point of that character was to be the intro, easy character to get, you can do the basics of the game very well with Liu Kang. And if you know how to, you just get a little bit of timing down and you're golden. He's easy to play. Mm-hmm. He's that character. So in many instances, he's always been the main character with like almost no story. Like there's not much to really focus on him because everyone knows it's all about Scorpion versus Sub-Zero, and maybe you have a cool character here and there that you're into after that. And so in the first movie, it does a really good job of laying out a really good narrative for Liu Kang. Everyone's just got a bone to pick with the sorcerer of the first tournament, of course. But it played it out very well. The second movie, Liu Kang, was pretty boring. Like it was.
Gotcha,
I'm not going to spoil it, but he's not really the focus of that movie, while entirely being the focus of that movie.
I also liked that he was played by the guy who I only know as the brother from Beverly Hills Ninja. If you
I've
remember
never
that movie.
seen that. What?
Oh, okay.
I've seen Beverly Hills Cop and I've seen the Beverly Hillbillies, but I've never seen Beverly Hills Ninja.
Oh, it's a Chris Farley movie.
What? Really? Oh shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, look, it's not a 10 out of 10 movie or anything, but if you like Chris Farley physical comedy, it's worth watching. It's got some really good stuff in it.
I'll give it a shot. Is it an older movie? Is it out on VHS?
Yeah, you can find it on VHS. Yeah, I mean it's a Chris Farley movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it if I see it on VHS. I'm going through this analog video thing. Anyway, this damn it. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. The actors who they picked for those two characters, Shang Tsung and Liu Kang, both really good actors. I don't know why they didn't cast the same actor for Liu Kang in the second movie. I can't remember why. But one of the things that they did in Mortal Kombat 11, the newest game, which I still haven't played, but I still think this is badass. They got the original actor from the first movie, mocapped in, like, his face modeled in and everything as the older Shang Tsung now, whereas he was the younger Shang Tsung back then. And that's the cool running thing with Shang Tsung is he's a shapeshifter. He's always he'll be an old hermit style kind of wizard guy to make you think like, oh, it's just a homeless person or something, but actually he's insanely powerful. And then in the new game, they have the ability to make it so he looks like the old Shang Tsung or the young Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat 1, or the movie. And it looks badass. I wish they had done that with a few more characters because there's I don't want to go too far into Mortal Kombat, but man, they had some gold character designs that they just threw in the fucking garbage for this new game at the same time. Like
Mm.
Melina is the
Oh,
purple female ninja character.
are you talking about like the redesigns for 9 being really good and then they undid them in 11?
No, no. The way that kind of went was 9 just brought Mortal Kombat into the new 3D era, and they wanted to make it classic looking at the same time and made it look good. Mortal Kombat
Hmm.
X was where they threw that concept out the window, and they said, here's how they would look really realistically with redesigned, more modern ideas of these clothing types and such like that. Also looked great, in my opinion. Reptile got the shaft, but I'm used to that.
That's interesting though, because I remember them looking really different in 9. At least like Ermac, right? He was like very spiritual looking, kinda,
Oh yeah. You're just
and
talking
stuff
about
like
like
that.
the kind of clothes they wore or something like that. Well, I mostly played them as their
Yeah.
classic ninja outfits, so they were just the palette
Oh,
swap.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember them looking different in 9, and I
Mhm.
really liked what they did with all their redesigns.
Yeah. So Mortal Kombat X though, like nine
Mhm.
Melina was okay.
Mhm.
9 Melina was what I would imagine a 3D Melina from Mortal Kombat 2 to look like. So I was happy. But then Mortal Kombat X Melina came out, and they designed her entire mouth area is the coolest fucking shit I've ever seen her. Honestly, if you can Google it, I encourage it, because like it was not just like her mouth was like an eel mouth that opened up with rows of tiny needle teeth like she's been in the past. Her Or it wasn't just like gums with like metal claws grafted into them like a magazine ad depicted once I saw. It was real nasty. That's how they depicted Baraka, I think, too. But this was just like that's a human really crossed with like Tarkatan DNA. She's got the jaw teeth coming out like wisdom teeth in the wrong area of her mouth, and while her mouth is fully kind of like detachable, she doesn't really do that often, and you can kind of
Mhm.
see that she's got this really like hey, that looks painful to exist with. But at the same time, they made it look like her characteristic arcadey, like hyper seductress kind of styling as a female antagonist, but also with the terrifying teeth. Speaking of terrifying teeth.
Gotcha. So yeah, I'm taking a look on Giggle here, and okay, so I see what you're saying about Mortal Kombat X Melina, and then Mortal Kombat 11, they just kind of gave her like the wide mouth
they
with
get
like,
they also
yeah.
changed her face entirely. Like I thought they were going to do like I thought they'd keep the face models the same, but it looks like Melina is not only like a different design of her mouth, but she looks like an entirely different character. Save for the obvious like clothing and
Yeah, I
yeah.
see that too.
And I was super
Totally. Yeah,
disappointed
she
with
looks like
that.
a different person.
Yeah. I've never been unhappy with Shang Tsung though. So Shang Tsung just got cooler in this game.
Mhm.
But yeah, man,
Well, there you go.
fighting game characters that like I don't think Mortal Kombat was ever destined to have a deep, immersive, good, dramatic story. It was just never meant to happen. It's always been the most ridiculous, cartoony thing it could be, because that's how the characters were started. They're like, well, we could just do, a couple guys wearing karate gis or whatever and fighting, or we could make every one of these characters have a special attribute about them and make them just ridiculously different looking and like unique. And I say that, but they definitely palette swapped a character to make a whole other character. But
Oh, sure.
they made them just hyper like unique as their own character, I guess. And then they also added all the gore into it. So it was never meant to be like a super serious thing. But it's always cool to
Mhm.
see when they actually succeed in trying to make it realistic. Like before Mortal Kombat X came out, I want to say, they had a series of YouTube videos that they released, and they were like supposed to be a teaser little episodes to tease a new potential TV series that's supposed to be live action or a movie. Spoiler alert, that didn't happen. But the teasers that they did were fantastic. adaptations to real life, because like I think the coolest one was Raiden. So they didn't change Raiden's character at all. He's actually still just a thunder god, except when he bolted down in some field. All right, and that field happened to be the recess area of a lunatic asylum. So he comes in there kind of almost naked and wearing nothing but the rest of it is just white. He's in a lunatic asylum, and they go, "Who are you? You're unregistered. This is crazy. This looks like an escapee. We need to get this guy back in." So, long story short, he meets a friend in his in his cell, and every day he's like, "I'm a thunder god," and they're like, "Take your medicine," and like hold him down when he gets pissed off, and like straps him to the table. And it's like this whole horror movie kind of aspect of what would really happen in a situation where a thunder god came to Earth. We'd most likely see him as a homeless person and think he's crazy, and that's how we dealt with that. So they just essentially start just drugging him up to just sedate him all the time, because his rage is getting stronger and stronger, and it turns out it's because his lightning powers were returning to his human form after he had transcended universes to come there. And one day he is just like, I think they almost escapes this lunatic asylum, and like they beat him down or some shit, and he's like, I can't do this anymore. So I think he actually it's really dark. I think he actually kills himself in the movie to go back to where he was, to just try again to come back to Earthrealm. And that explains a delay in him finding Liu Kang, who's often doing this other thing. And it goes into deeper other character aspects too. Like Reptile actually got a decent explanation for the first time ever. It was I wasn't crazy about it, but at least it works. And they explained it as a like a reject kind of guy who was born with like Harlequin ichthyosis. So already he's kind of fucked from birth. Not an actual reptile, but that was like his name, like his name, like his monster street name or whatever. And now he's just pissed and rar, Shao Kahn, we'll make this plot work later, and then never makes the movie. So okay, that's never explained, but it was a cool try. You know what I mean? To see, trying to get a serious context from Mortal Kombat.
So speaking of Raiden, as far as watching the first movie goes, he was the character that I could not take him seriously.
The Highlander, you didn't like him?
So I've never seen Highlander.
Neither have I.
But yeah, I did have to look him up later, because I liked that he was ridiculous, to the point where I looked up who it was later. I was like, who is this guy that they got as Raiden? Because he was silly.
The only face of Raiden there ever should be ever again.
Because yeah, he just had like a really, I don't know if you call it raspy, his voice. I don't even know. He's just
always kind of talked like this.
Yes,
what made that guy think that's Raiden's voice?
But like that, I've never seen Highlander. I don't know. Does he always talk like that? Oh man,
I don't know. But like there was a Mortal Kombat live action TV show a couple times. Like it was on and off, I think, in the 90s. Not good. I don't recommend watching it unless you really just love Mortal Kombat and want to watch something hilariously funny and bad. But I want to say he was in the TV show a couple times. I can't remember, but I think he's always played Raiden like that, but it never bothered me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it. I just thought I hated it for the first like minute, and then I accepted it as like, okay, this is gonna be silly, and then I could get behind it at least a little bit.
Yeah, okay, so it was not actually him playing Raiden in the TV show. The TV show was Mortal Kombat Conquest. It was only 22 episodes, one season. And it was played by a guy named Jeffrey Meek. He also played Shao Kahn in that. I don't think there's anything else here I recognize. But anyway, yeah, Mortal Kombat is just ridiculous in every iteration it's ever been in.
Oh, I've got one more topic to bring up, because that's Mortal Kombat. There you go. I watched the movie. That's what I thought about it. Just as a short aside, this is about the C-bomb thing that we've been talking about,
Ooh, is there an update?
Yeah, Sony made a statement about it. Well, sort of. Not really made a statement. Basically, a lot of people wrote in like customer help tickets. Like a bunch of people made tickets with Sony about like, hey, this is an issue. We think you guys should solve it, you know? And a lot of those people got back an answer. And the answer was Sony said, our engineers couldn't replicate the issue. And that was their answer. They just are
Excuse
they just
me?
yeah. I wish. Okay, let me. Perhaps I can find the actual
Did they try
thing that they
pulling the
said.
fucking battery out at least?
Right, right. It's a total brush off. 100% just a brush off because yeah, for sure there is no way when given the exact circumstances that caused the exact issue and we've seen people do it, they're not able to replicate it. Get the fuck out of here. That or they didn't try it offline. You know,
Dude, it's this.
which is the whole fucking point.
So was there an update to that, or was that just the most recent update?
That's the most. Okay, I found it. Please accept our apologies for the length of time it took to get back to you regarding your query about the functionality of the CMOS battery within the PlayStation consoles. We greatly appreciate your patience while we looked into this. I'm glad to be able to confirm that after extensive testing, SIE have been unable to replicate any issues with the CMOS battery. I hope this clears things up, but if you have any other questions, please feel free to get back in touch.
There's some dickhead at Sony who either knew and didn't care, or it was just not, I guess, not translated well to. And someone said, "CMOS battery's fucked up," and he takes. I'm just imagine him taking like a multimeter to it and getting the voltage he needs out. It's fine.
I should mention though, it is also possible that this is a hoax, that this is a fake thing that people made up. Because, like I'm saying, it's not like it's on PlayStation's blog. It's not a statement, you know. It's just some people have posted a picture of like, here's the response email that I got back for opening a ticket for it, you know. And they could have just made it up, right? Maybe.
That sounds
But
like a pretty plausible brush off, though. I hate to say.
Right. Yeah, like if it's fake, yeah, sure. That sounds like what, you know, the way that it would be written.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's funny.
Well,
That's
I don't know
all.
about you, man, but I am not buying any of these consoles until that shit gets resolved. I don't care about owning a PS5. Well, first of all, a lot of people don't care about owning a PS5 right now. Did you see this? Okay, I'm not going to name him by name because I'm sure I don't want anyone to dogpile on this guy because everyone's wrong all the time. Literally all the time, including me, all the time, especially. But this guy was like, essentially on Twitter complaining that two new games that are like a big IPs are getting PlayStation 4 ports. And this guy is like, guy's basically, why don't I buy a PS5? Why don't they believe in generations, quote unquote? And it's like, this guy's upset that more people get to play games that they either can't. Okay, let's just talk about why it's extra fucked up right now, because there's still a chip shortage nationally and internationally that still makes PS5s somewhat harder to come by. People are still scalping them. And he's like, this should be only on the thing that I worked to pay $700 for on Craigslist. Other people need to suffer for me. Just like, come on, guy.
Yeah, video games come out for multiple generations. You know, Destiny was on PS3 and 4. Persona 5 was on PS3 and
Super
4.
Mario All-Stars on Super Nintendo.
I mean, that's a little different, but if we go the Nintendo route, you got Twilight Princess.
Yeah, Twilight Princess.
GameCube and Wii game. You know?
And then we have the Breath of the Wild is on Wii U.
Yeah. Like it's a very common thing. It's very, very silly to hear. Like I was surprised when I like clicked on that post that you're talking about and saw all the comments of people agreeing.
Yeah.
Like
it wasn't a lot of comments at all though.
Right. But yeah, I was very surprised to hear people whine about the idea that some PS5 games are going to come out on PS4 because I don't know, it's like it's not especially Because the PS4 is so much more similar to the PS5 than consoles have been in the past. When you say that Destiny came out on PS3 and 4, that's a way bigger deal because those systems are so much more different. While the PS4 and 5, I know that this is reductive, this isn't 100% correct, but it's very much more similar to it being the same build, except they disabled some features, like
Mm.
they disabled ray tracing and pulled the graphic sliders back a little bit, and there's your PS4 version, right?
Oh, I thought you meant coming. Never mind. I thought you meant the other way around.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm saying like PS4 and 5 are so much more similar of systems that it's less work than it's ever been to make cross-generation systems or
Yeah,
games, you
because
know?
everything is a PC game now.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, even if you have to program it a funny way to be Sony exclusive or whatever, it's still. Yeah, I agree. We're so far past the day where one company is going to use one radically different sound chip, so every game is going to sound like that's a game exclusive to that console.
Mhm.
Hardware is the best of the best, and really, it's just a marketing decision at this point. What specs get into what console at what point in time.
Yeah, and it's a marketing decision in large part as far as like how are they going to release the systems. Right,
Mm-hmm.
like because yeah, if they made it PS5 only, then that gives the message to everybody that like that
It's
Sony is
done.
done
Yeah.
with the PS4, you know? And I don't know if that's necessarily what they want to say right now, especially like you're saying because a lot of people can't find PS5s.
Also, how long was the lifespan of PS2? Like into
Mm.
PS3, I say this all the time. Last PS2 game was made in 2014, which is
Yeah.
definitely after the PS4. No, three came out. So it's like
Yeah.
it lasted so long. It's such a
Yep.
dumb take, man.
Right. The PS5 has been out for less than a year, so
And that's it
it
for the people who can even get one.
yeah. So right, it's silly.
Do you think they're gonna fix
Um,
it though? Do you think they're gonna fix the C bomb?
no,
If they're not, and Microsoft fixes it, that's where I'm going. I need an
I don't.
Xbox at that point.
I don't know if Microsoft will fix it either, but yeah, like here, like I'm not saying I don't want them to, of course, but I'm just
Mm-hmm.
saying like realistically, pragmatically, and somewhat pessimistically, no, I don't
Think
think
about
they'll
it this
fix
way,
it.
though. Think about it this way: if Microsoft in their Xbox consoles doesn't fix that, what? I'm just gonna say it's probably if it becomes an accessibility issue and it becomes easy to tackle. I think it's going to be way easier to pop an Xbox game into a PC and get some kind of weird software patch and just play it on a PC eventually. It
Oh,
might could.
I'm not sure.
I mean, it's just structurally, right? Because they already have Microsoft. It's all one company. It's not even like you'd have to co-op too much.
Yeah, that I guess I kind of have no idea as far as that goes. I know what you mean though, but I think the only thing with that is if they're on NTFS on their Xbox discs, I feel like that would be the only determining factor there.
You mean NTSC?
But no, the NT file system.
So you're actually talking about file system. Okay, yeah. Is that
Yeah, but
different
I
than
don't,
Xbox? I don't know.
that's what I'm saying is that I would be kind of surprised if Xbox was compatible with Windows in that way.
I'm
I
just
don't know.
saying it's if I had to spitball at a board and say which company is gonna preserve it for longer, I'm gonna say Xbox. But here we are with Nintendo being the king of the race. So I've actually only been
Mhm.
buying Switch games since I learned about that. I've only bought PS4 games that I knew that I wanted now.
Yeah, so right, totally. Yeah, I mean, my thing with it right now is right, I don't think that they're gonna fix it. And so I'm gonna kind of continue doing what I've always done, which is like if a game is PS5 exclusive and I want to play it, I'll buy it, but I prefer PC whenever I can.
I'm the opposite. Well, hard asterisk there. I'm definitely a PC person when it comes to anything involving like quick twitch targeting and aiming and shit like that. So first person, third person shooters, I have to have a mouse and keyboard. But everything else, I've kind of just switched the mindset of I like owning my games, so I want them on my shelf.
It's true. Yeah, it is. It is. What's the word when you do one thing that's like antithetical to the rest of what you believe in or the rest of what you do? I don't know, but that's it with me and Steam. Is that when even though I love uh, owning all my games physically and that kind of thing, um, if a game is on PC is usually the number one place that I want to play it, and if I'm playing it on PC, I go to Steam first, right? Which is it's not it doesn't line up with the rest of what I do, but I don't know, man. I really like Steam.
I've been fucked over doing that once, for sure though, and it's a shame because the game actually like mechanically felt like it would have been really good. And that's Wolfenstein, the New Order. I think that's the first of the 3 reboot games that they were, the new Wolfenstein games. Ran like dog shit on my GPU. Everyone online from the year 2012 and onwards about that game said any new generation GPU after that time has so much trouble running that game. At least if it was AMD. I don't know if NVIDIA cards had trouble, but either way, the only way to play that game in my situation at that time was to say, fuck my progress and just buy it on Xbox 360. I didn't have a 360 at the time, so I didn't have a choice. So I had to wade through that goddamn game, and I wish that I had bought that on 360. And it left such a bad taste in my mouth, and also there were some other things about that game I really didn't like, but I didn't continue on, which is a shame because I actually do want to get into the Wolfenstein universe.
Yeah, that sounds bizarre. Yeah, the thing about Steam is that, like, well, people love to quote Gaben in what he said that piracy is always a service issue.
Which
right?
is a lovely quote. I love that.
Lovely quote. And the reason that I bring it up is because the only reason that anyone would be against what I say of, like, I go to Steam first for all my games is because Steam is DRM. But Steam is also a lovely service.
Yeah, it really is.
Partly it's a lovely service because of its popularity, and so it's got most of what you want to find on it, and also they are well known for having a lot of sales and stuff. But hey, other companies do that too now. It's easy to find a lot of stuff on GOG. GOG has a lot of sales.
And Fanatical.
Right? Here's the thing that Steam does that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about though, is that, well, first I'll talk about like my nostalgia with it, which is that. Did you play PC games before Steam ever?
Yes.
It was the worst for convenience.
Why do you say that?
Because of product keys and back then when your other things were your your PlayStation 2, right, versus playing a game on PS2, on PC you had to have a product key, you had to spend forever installing the game and it took up a bunch of space on your hard drive, and then even though it took up a bunch of space on your hard drive, you still had to have the disc in the computer to authenticate. Right, all that shit. Gaming on PC felt very frustrating because of that sometimes.
I would say that was definitely a pain in the ass, and I can see exactly where you're coming from, where Steam streamlines that and makes it so much better than it used to be. But it was a one and done for the most part. A lot of times you didn't even need to have the CD of the game in, but that is one thing I don't like. I would say when I go to Goodwill and see a bunch of PC games, especially big box PC games that look cool, that they're in good condition and everything, and they're cheap, I'd pick them up, but there's a product key in there a lot of the times. And a lot of the times there's no reason for me to get that because that game is now permanently tied to someone who I have no way of contacting in order to play it.
Yeah.
So
the other thing too is like patches, right? Like let's say a game needed to be patched, you had to like find the patch on the internet and download it and all that. So then comes Steam, where you purchase a game and it installs it. It downloads it and installs it at the same time.
I'm sorry, you were just saying that. I was like, you were saying you had to look at the patch online. You had to go into a website, and I'm just going, Oh, those were the days.
But now it's like a game downloads and installs at the same time. And then like it would keep it updated with patches automatically and that kind of thing. And so Steam like totally changed PC gaming, right? Making it much, much more convenient.
For the way
Now,
better.
here's what they do now though, is I really like to play games with either with a or I really like to play games with a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. That's like my
Mhm.
controller that I like to use. And if a game, uh, recently games have been much better about this, but there is a very, very large amount of games that only recognize an X input controller, which is a Xbox
Yes.
controller, and does not recognize a direct input controller, which is either a DualShock or a uh, Switch Pro controller. Steam has a built-in feature that makes it work. If you play a game that only accepts X input, Steam has, as a function of playing the game through Steam, makes a direct input controller work. Because Steam recognizes the controller and passes it through into X input into the game. That's amazing. You used to have to download the shittiest, most computer virus seeming program. There was this fucking program called Motion Enjoy
Oh.
that I used to have to use a DualShock 3 for
Dude,
my.
that sounds like the software disk to a piece of software written for Windows 98 on how you have to use a data or MIDI output port to have a vibrator work.
So I used to use this Motion Enjoy program to get a DualShock 3 to work on my PC. Man, it was just it was like this window that you had to have
Oh, yep.
open. It had fucking banner ads on it and stuff, and oh, it was awful. But like, it was the only way to do it, you know. At one point, I had to stop though, because at one point they actually updated the program to start, or like the Google ads that they were using changed to become video ads, and then every time that it had to load a new
Oh,
video ad,
Jesus.
it would just fucking freeze. So, so yeah, then Steam is that's the program though, where if I'm using that, I can just use whatever controller I want and it works, you know? So stuff like that is like Steam is still integrating features that actually make it a service and not DRM. You know what I mean?
I've
Um,
had bad luck sometimes with that function though. I've had in fact I actually
Sometimes it's finicky.
yeah, I gave up on Tekken because my whole crew was telling me, dude, you got to use a PlayStation 4 controller for Tekken. It's just that kind of game. So I did it, and like all my buttons did the wrong things, but they did something, and most of the things that they did wrong looked close to the right thing. So for like I guess 2 or 3 matches, I was just eating shit in Tekken, and I couldn't figure out why. And they're like, well, you're not doing this. And I'm like, I've been doing that the whole fucking time. And then they're like, do it right now. And it was that Portal 2 moment where you start the game and it's like, hit spacebar to enjoy art. And then you hit it and you just jump or whatever. The game makes
Oh,
fun of you for jumping.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
God, Portal 2 is good.
it's
Um,
fantastic. But then the other time I did it, it did
mhm.
work. So it worked with Tekken the next time I did it. So it is finicky, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, right. Sometimes it takes a few launches of a game. You know,
Yeah.
if you're friends with me on Steam and you ever see me launch a game like 6 times in a row, I'm probably fucking with the controller. But yeah. Anyway, point is though, stuff like that like really keeps me on Steam.
Yeah, there's not a
Because
service
I
that
like
you
it.
can really compare it to, unfortunately. Well, I say unfortunately because it kind of makes it almost a monopoly. I was talking about this the other
Mhm.
day, is because like I say I am surprised at how much I prefer Steam and love Steam as a service, despite it basically being a monopoly. Because no matter what, no one has positive thoughts when someone hears Epic Game Store or
Yeah.
fucking EA Origin or Uplay or Games for Windows Live. No one has any. It's another thing that they have to go, God fucking damn it, close that and then put the shit in this folder and then put the shortcut here, and now we have the Steam overlay, and you can just
Mhm.
ignore that other thing now.
So there are several reasons for that, though. Like the thing about Uplay and Origin, at least for me, is that those are company specific, and by
Yes, they are.
company, sorry, I mean publisher.
Mm.
So EA wants you to go through their thing
Yeah.
because they're big enough to make you do that. While a smaller company couldn't. So it's just kind of annoying, right? Because it's like they're just doing it so that they can have more control, because they are big enough to be able to. But then
Yeah.
Epic is okay. So Epic wants to actually compete with Steam as like a more global platform, right? And yeah, the problem with Epic is that they don't have the features that Steam has. They have an objectively worse storefront, as far as how it works for when you use it. Uh, and then on top of that, also just the way that they're, trying to bully their way on top, just by throwing cash around for exclusives. It's that thing where it's like it wouldn't be annoying if their service was as good as Steam's, but it's not. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, that's kind of what makes it frustrating and what makes them kind of appear to be the bad guy.
Epic that's the company that made Fortnite, right?
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. Now, it makes sense that they're competing because they have that kind of money now.
exactly right.
It's
Um,
amazing how many people actually play Fortnite, though. Holy fuck. That is a
Man,
huge game.
my nephew won't quit talking about it now. Uh, he was talking about Fortnite last time I saw him so much that at some point I was just like, yeah, Fortnite, I'm just not really interested in that game. Like I kind of said it that way. And after that, oh man, he didn't say another sentence to me that didn't have to do with Fortnite for the
Oh,
rest of the night. It was just, it it was like he was trying to convince me otherwise, but I don't know.
yeah.
It was
You have to be converted.
ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I played PUBG one time. I downloaded
Mhm.
it for me and Fiddle to play together. We played one time. The game was a slideshow for 10 minutes, and I said, fuck you, and got my money back immediately. And
Mm.
I'm not even saying that because that's why. I'm saying because in general, I do not like games that where if you're bad at it, you die first, you have to wait a long time before you can play again. Like Counter
Yeah.
Strike, Counter Strike is quick enough to where it always got away with that for me because a match is over in 2 minutes if you know what you're doing. But a game where it's like 60 people and you have to wait for there to be one left, fuck that.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I've never played either of them actually. Like I remember when PUBG got really popular, I saw it, and what I always thought about PUBG was that it looked like a game where you ran around not seeing anyone for like 30 minutes, just running around a big empty map with nobody in it, and you'd pick up a couple things, and then all of a sudden you'd get shot and you'd be like, what, where the hell did that come from? And then you get shot again and you're dead.
Yep.
And like that, and that's what it all like, because I watched people stream it, right? And that's always what it was running around, not seeing anyone for 30 minutes, and then dying and being confused about why you died,
Yeah.
right? So I never played it, and then I saw Fortnite, and well, I actually kind of avoided Fortnite for a long time, but then when I got my nephew a Switch and now he's playing it all the time, I ended up seeing a bit of gameplay of it and was just like, oh, this looks real dumb. And also I now like I've heard that like so many people are super into it and stream it a lot, and now I'm realizing that like if you're like a 30-year-old who streams Fortnite all the time, you're playing against 7-year-olds
Yeah,
most of
yeah.
the time.
For sure.
And I'm just like, I don't know about this. Plus, and that doesn't even get into like the whole, the way that like the game does its monetary economy and stuff, which I'm not into. So, yeah, it's just not something I've ever fucked with.
No, it's just it's in general I've always just avoided games that like have a real painful way of punishing you if you're bad and do it very harsh right off the bat. It's And yet I say that I'm into fighting games, but fighting games you can fight someone else who's of an equal skill level than you, and it'll do just fine. And you can
Yeah,
mash
yeah.
too. If you don't know how, if you don't know how to fight against someone who's mashing, the most novice player can beat you. So there's that. But Fortnite is like it's always been this weird thing where it's like, okay, this is just PUBG but cartoony, and people are juggling like sheds and buildings in their hands and ladders and shit, and they're building things at lightning speed, and it's like, what is this supposed to be? What is it a camping game, or is it an action fighting game? Because it's like a building survival game that happens in 10 seconds flat.
It's whatever you can play it however you want, man. It's your own experience. I've heard that you can just sit around and fish in that game, apparently. So,
Oh,
you
I,
know.
I thought every match was like, at least there's a couple sweaty tryhards at some point, and they just make it
Oh, yeah.
so you have to play a certain way in order to even get ahead.
Well, I imagine the map is big enough where that doesn't become an issue until later, right? You can sit there and fish, and then, okay, now everyone has to go to the middle, and then the sweaty tryhards win. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. I, there's just, I guess that's just going to be one of those games where it's like, man, I did. We played Donkey Kong and Super Mario Brothers, and we had
Yeah.
Centipede, and that's all I need.
It's really it's pretty weird to me that Fortnite is like the biggest thing ever. Just because like it's the first time where I totally don't get it. You know?
Well,
Because
they kind of did a really good job of trying to put it on every fucking thing that it could be played on. So
yeah,
I get that. It's access.
but like Call of Duty used to be the biggest thing ever, and I at least got it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess Fortnite isn't too much of a stretch away from Call of Duty, but I never really played Call of Duty either, though. That whole area has just kind of
Oh,
not
I
been my
did
thing.
actually. I played a fuck ton of Call of Duty, but like I saw I saw what that was developing into, like the community
Mhm.
around me. I played a lot of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is Call of Duty 4 Modern
Yep.
Warfare. So the one that just got remade. So it was a little while ago. And it was one of the most realistic, cool, cinematic, dramatic, like single player shooting experiences you could imagine. They did a fantastic job at that. That is just
Yeah.
one game that gets your adrenaline rushing in a single player mode so well. But
Mhm.
but like
And
the online multiplayer was 1,000 times even better and more fun than that. So I played it so
yeah.
much, but like eventually it got to be where like people were making up their own custom game modes like zombies and whatnot, because they did that back in the Halo 2 days, and it got to the point where it became Black Ops, and I tried playing Black Ops, I tried playing Black Ops 2 and all this stuff, and mind you, this was a 5-minute introduction play. I didn't really give it any serious thought, but it felt like someone had turned the turbo button on Call of Duty 4, which was already an insanely fast-paced game. So it just didn't work for me, because it was one of those things where, man, okay, so you can start a match, look up with your knife throwing weapon, throw it, and then if you know where to aim that, you're gonna spawn camp the other person. It's
Dude,
one
I
of those
remember seeing
things.
YouTube videos of that.
Yeah,
People just knowing right where to throw a knife at the start of a match and almost always get a kill. I think my roommate did it.
yeah.
I had a roommate at the time who was really into Call of Duty, and I'm pretty sure that was his thing, was just knowing right where to toss a knife at the very start. 9 times out of 10, you'd get someone.
And yeah, but it's like you die to that, and it's like, this is fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
So there'd be like 10 times the bullshit. It would have its own meta of bullshit in the game. Like in COD 4, there was a perk called Martyrdom, which everyone fucking hated. Everyone who had Martyrdom, because all that is you lose a slot or an active like good thing to have in the game, you sacrifice it to have a grenade dropped the instant you die automatically.
Mhm.
So that makes it an area everyone has to clear out of, or else you get a kill after death. And it's scrubby shit like that. But I feel like the scrubbiness got turned up to 10 after Black Ops and all that stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other scrubby shit too. Like just the fact that the games are specifically made to try to balance out players, as in like the spawn points are intentionally shitty to make sure that every once in a while you're going to spawn behind someone and you get a free kill, you know? So that nobody is going 0 and 12. You're at least going to go 1 and 12, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
got
I'm
that.
not saying that they intentionally are like, we're gonna make the spawn points shitty.
Yeah.
I'm saying they never fixed them because that's like a
Yeah.
part of Call of Duty is that sometimes the bullshit's in your favor and then you at least feel at least okay.
Yeah.
And then there was that other thing that we don't even get into again. The whole. Do you remember when Activision patented the system of like selling of like matchmaking you with players that had bought things that you hadn't.
No. What? Oh,
Activision
good.
had like a patent out about how to matchmake in Call of Duty to make sure that players who did not spend money in game would be matched with players who did. Like oh man, it was real slimy
That's
when
shitty.
you got deep into it, but it was things like um when someone killed you with a certain gun that they had to pay for, it would say it on screen. Oh, you know, this person killed you with this thing that you haven't bought, you know? And then it would like track whether or not that player would then go make a purchase. And it would
Oh,
use this data to like in the matchmaking. Oh,
Christ, that's terrible. Which game
yeah.
was
Like
this?
well, so I don't know if this was ever actually in a game, but it
Oh,
was a patent. It was an Activision patent
God
that
damn it. Well,
that
Activision's
was
like out
like
of business now, aren't they?
no, oh no,
Oh,
no,
never mind. I'm
no.
thinking Midway. Hang on. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Midway.
like Activision, I don't think they're doing as well as they were when Call of Duty was the biggest game ever, but they're still like one of the biggest publishers.
Yeah, and like you
And because
said,
Call of Duty is still doing well.
I got Call of Duty, but like once I got back into the Battlefield series, I was like, I don't need Call of Duty anymore. There's nothing fulfilling my need that Battlefield isn't, and it was always way more in depth with vehicle combat, bigger maps,
Hmm.
more intricate weapon. Well, so you could customize the fuck out of a weapon in Call of Duty, but like the class system in Battlefield was always cool, and it was neat how they let you customize your kit as that class. So there was like almost like this MMO style like character class level tree where if you have this item and you unlock this item and use these two items together, you can be this almost other kind of like recon class or whatever. It was cool to
Yeah.
do that. Like you could be a recon character who, you know, that's the sniper class, quote unquote. So everyone expects you to be a sniper, but a lot of people will just opt for an SMG or a shotgun and specialize in getting that little like radar ball, and they throw that in close hostile territory so that everyone else knows where all the enemies are. It's like simple shit like that was cool to play with. It's like the Final Fantasy V class system of first person shooter games.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, Battlefield had you mentioned vehicles, which
Vehicles,
also
yeah.
came with like destructible environments and that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff.
Once they had that
Um,
game engine where you could blow up like actual terrain and just
mhm,
like there are buildings in a city map that you can level if you go
mhm.
to certain parts of it and blow their supports out. It's really
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I never got into these games, but I had a roommate that was very into them, as I mentioned, and I always thought Battlefield seemed a lot cooler of the two franchises. Particularly, I remember Battlefield Bad Company 2
Great game.
seemed that one seemed like the peak
Mm.
as far as all these games that I've ever seen in my life. I
It
feel like that
wasn't, but
was the one that was like,
it was up like when Bad Company 2 was the Battlefield game to play, it was the best Battlefield.
mhm,
But like not enough people played it. Like I guess this was still this is EA. This is a EA property. So
mhm.
EA back then was being EA and like, oh, hey, do you want Battlefield Bad Company 2 Vietnam? You get these cool helicopters, you get these cool weapons that you'd never have anywhere else. Um, but then they did the thing like, you know what? It's kind of an opposite point to what you just said with Activision's patented matchmaking system, because those weapons and those vehicles were only in the maps that were in that DLC pack. What if they
Yeah,
had let you take the
I
weapons?
I thought the Vietnam one even had, like, its own matchmaking. Like,
It
it was like a
it might have,
expansion
yeah.
pack.
And they had done that with Battlefield 2, so I get why they did that as well. Each expansion
Mhm.
pack had its own matchmaking because they didn't have a way to separately sort out who had the right content and who didn't, I guess. But it's still it sucked because the way that was structured, nobody bought Vietnam. Nobody bought that other like SWAT, I guess, version. I think they made, and because of it, if you did, you were fucked. Battlefield 2 is an online game, and if you can't find any servers with anyone playing on them, what's the point?
Yeah, I don't remember the SWAT one that you're talking about, but my roommates definitely got the Vietnam one and played it
I think I might be
all the
thinking of two. It
time.
was like Special Forces 2, I think.
Okay,
I
yeah.
had that personally, and that was fun. But man, Battlefield 2 is see it all started with Halo for me, man. I was a console gamer through and through, and then I got the Xbox, and then I got Halo, and then I learned about Battlefield 2 Modern Combat on Xbox, which was just a really gimped, kind of shitty, but still insanely fun version of Battlefield 2 on the console.
Mhm.
It was actually an entirely different game. It had a different physics system too. It was still definitely a Battlefield game, but it made it so like I think it was the first game I played where you had a reticle, you're firing a reticle, and the actual like machine operation of your gun would have a little white transparent circle that would, with the spread, would just get bigger inside the
Oh,
center.
yeah, yeah.
So you could actually see the effect of your accuracy going down depending on what position you're in, prone, crouching, or standing. Your accuracy degrading with recoil. Really cool
Mhm.
mechanics like that. Like on the first Xbox, made me go, "This is cool. These are the games I want to play. I will spend hours and hours playing just these types of games." So I got a PC and got Battlefield 2, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." Battlefield 3, I would say, is the peak, though. 4 is good. The graphics are just a slight upgrade, but EA being EA, it feels like they just reskinned Battlefield 3 and added features.
Yeah, from what I've seen, ever since Battlefield 3, they've all been exactly the same. I mean, of
Unfortunately.
course, that's not technically true, but, like,
It's
that's
not.
what it's looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vehicles and, like, the shooting do have a distinctly slightly better feel as they go along. And you can tell that the addition of, I think it's the DICE engine they use now. The DICE 2.0, like it showed
Frostbite?
yeah. Is it by DICE Frostbite? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the Frostbite engine, I remember distinctly them showing the upgrades in destructible environments. And that's what allowed me to buy Battlefield 4. But like before that, it's just like this looks like Battlefield 3.
Do you remember, Battlefield Hardline, I think it was called?
I didn't play it because I heard it was so bad. I was scared to play it. Everyone said it was terrible.
And on that note, that's about all I got to talk about tonight.
Oh, really?
On
I
Oh,
thought we
yeah.
had a whole hardline spiel here.
Oh, no, I look it up and, enjoy some gameplay footage of it and some cutscenes from it 'cause, it was real bad.
It's all good. Well, yeah, we just had a cool medley of stuff to talk about tonight, which it was fun. Definitely talked about things I didn't think we were going to. Like C-bomb, I love talking about that. I want an update on that so bad.
I know, yeah. I want them to fix it, and I want to be wrong about them about thinking that they won't.
I do too, and hopefully we
Mhm.
can leave on a note of hope for that then. All right. Well, guys, I've been Invictus Knox. You can find me on the internet everywhere as Invictus Knox. This is Dash Retro. You can find him on Twitch and Twitter. And check the description here underneath us for all the links for what we're going to post under here to make sure information's relevant and whatnot. Thanks for watching, guys.
See ya.
See you guys. Bye.